Coming up, the frontman from a classic 80s hard rock band tells us the story of creating a song that has become one of the quintessential hits of that decade. It hasn't lost any steam since its release almost 40 years ago. Pop culture keeps it at the forefront for sure. It's an amazing history, and it's next on Professor of Rock, brought to you by Zenni Eyewear. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. If you're over the moon about music, you want to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss an episode. Now, I'm excited to bring you another episode from our series, Revelations, where featured artists reveal rare stories about their biggest songs, along with fascinating insight about their careers. Now, on this installment of Revelations, we present episode 1 of our recent Zoom session with Mike Reno, the prolific frontman of 80s powerhouse rock band Loverboy. They had 9 top 40 hits in America and 10 top 40 hits in their native Canada. Here he tells us the story behind one of their signature songs and the 80s classic, Working for the Weekend. And that's where our story begins on Revelations. Working for the Weekend. Can't say enough about that song. One of the greatest songs of the 80s. Number 10 in Canada, number 29 here in the U.S. And again, so much bigger than its chart position. I mean, it's I would say one of the top 50 songs of the 80s, if not even top 20 that you hear all the time in pop culture. Could talk about that. But number 11, New Zealand. Number 2 on the rock charts, though. But that was, of course, written by you and Dean and also by Fournette, right?
Yeah, the drummer threw in some key points with the cowbells and a few of the instigating some high-end pushes and pulls and things. So we gave him a piece of that one too. That was part of the deal. You know, we'd like to get everybody involved if we can. If they're really interested and work hard with us developing a song, they get a piece of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's another thing that we did as well. I don't know if people know this, but when we started Loverboy, I suggested to Paul that so we don't get these, oh, he's the singer, so he gets more, and he's just the drummer, so he doesn't get as much. I said to Paul, when we develop the whole system in the contract, I want to make sure everybody in the band gets paid the same. And the reason I wanted that is because it's like the whole theory behind the weakest link. So you're going to be strong for the next guy because you're all in the same boat, right? You either sink or swim together. And if the drummer just doesn't care, he might not even try. But in our case, everybody really tried and they really kept at it. And we're still together now. And I think that's probably one of the reasons, because everybody got a fair shake, you know?
That's a great belief. It's so true, because there are so many people, especially now where you have these battles going on with bands. And they're really the people that lose out. The people that win are the lawyers, and the people that lose out are the fans.
Right, absolutely.
But Working for the Weekend was like power pop meets AOR. I love the story of this. Tell us how that originated. Dean's walking out. I think it was a Wednesday afternoon. And tell me about that, what you remember.
I think what it is, he lived in a part of town called Kitsilano, which is a beachy town. It's kind of like Venice, is to LA. And I think he's on the 3rd floor with a small balcony. And he says when he walked out around 5 o'clock, he could sense a deliberate planning. Everybody they had some dry clean, their best shirts were a dry cleaner picked up. They had a case of beer or something, they were getting ready. You could tell that they were getting ready. So he says, he gets the whole thing going, and he gets this groove going, and he's writing it. He's going, everybody's waiting for the weekend, and he's working this whole plot. And he says, come on over, I want you to help me with this song. So we start working, and it had written down there, everybody's waiting for the weekend. And when it came by, I just sang everybody's working for the weekend, because to me, that's what it felt like. And to him, he was waiting for it. For me, we were working for it. And it turned out kind of like that really made it happen, because that's what people do. They work all week and for the weekend. And you can see them coming home with their shirt that's been dry. They're going out tonight, and they got a case of beer or a bottle of wine or whatever. And, they're getting ready. They're getting ready to party and really enjoy themselves. And we worked hard all week. Now it's time to let loose.
Turn me loose.
Yeah, turn me loose.
So I understand that you guys started playing that And whenever you would play it, you'd open with it, and everybody would be out on the dance floor and jamming, and you knew you had something.
Immediately. We used to go over to Vancouver Island, which is about the size of England. Don't get me wrong. It's a big island. And we'd go over there to get away from the Vancouver scene, because we'd kind of played around Vancouver, and we wanted to try some things, experiment, I guess you'd call it, right? Which is kind of a cool thing to do for a band. So we take it over to the island and play some obscure nightclub or a bar. And by the end of the week, it was pretty much packed. That was the cool thing about it. Well, we used to test songs out, and we'd play it, and we'd really give it to it. And if it didn't go over, if the dance floor didn't fill up, or if people started looking away or ordering drinks, we'd just go, let's not play that one anymore. And we move on to the next one, right? But that's how you learn, right? And so we had the advantage at the beginning, while we were waiting, for an opportunity to get a record deal, to try out some of these songs. And I remember our management was linked with the booking agent in Canada, and started off in British Columbia. And the nightclub owners used to catch us to do the show and on a Monday and Tuesday, and there was a few people, and then the next day there'd be more people. And on Wednesday, the guy phoned, he goes, "Now listen, you told me these guys played top 40. And I remember the manager had to call the booking agency, and the booking agency, the guy who ran the agency, he calls the guy who owns the nightclub, and he says, "Listen, these guys are top 40. They're going to be top 40. Just let them play. Let them do whatever they want." Then by the end of the week, the place would be packed. So he'd phone back to the agency. He goes, "These guys are great," blah, blah, which is kind of cool, because it was all an experiment, right? It could have gone completely the other way. It could have just gone down the toilet, but it didn't. And that's kind of cool.
Well, what do you remember about recording Working for the Weekend? Because that power chorus, man, you just let it rip. And that's what really attracts the ear, is that and everybody just wants to pump the fist and sing it to the top of their lungs. What do you remember about how that came together?
Well, the energy comes from the drums and the bass, to be honest with you. Well, actually, everybody's kind of pushing it. I mean, it's like, it's almost like a leaping leopard. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just really, it's a push. Everybody's pushing it. And when it came time to sing it, I had no choice but to just, ramp it up to do top 10, just bang, the best I could, pushing it. And it worked out great. You tried a few different things, and then when we had it, I remember one time I was singing away, and all of a sudden Bob Rox left the recording seat, and I'm kind of wondering, where's he at? And we're recording Working for the Weekend, and I look up and his seat's twirling, and the song comes to an end, and I kind of look out and I go, "Where the hell is everybody?" Anyway, "Bob's wife's having a baby." It's while I'm singing, and that was, that's very memorable to me, because he had his first child.
Wow.
Yeah. And, now he's like 40 years old, I guess, 38 years old, because it happened, that song's 38 years old, I think. Something like that. 82 or something.
The part that the dun 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 dun, it's like, it's got these parts that, as a listener, it's just ear candy, because it takes you all different places, because of the synthesizer and bass part, and then the solo guitar part, and then
the wah-wah and everything. Do you know what we called that? Down, 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 down. We called that the Marlboro Man. Because we used to say to Paul, give me some Marlboro Man. So it's kind of like down, 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 down. It's like Bonanza, remember? Down, down,
oh yeah,
down, down. Or Marlboro Man. They had a commercial at the time to sell smokes. And it was like, that was the big thing. It was a guitar riff. And I remember saying to him, "Give me the Marlboro Man thing there." And he'd go, and that's kind of where that one came from. And when the wah-wah kicked in, Paul was really big with the wah-wah, especially when we were jamming and stuff and in nightclubs. And I wondered why he didn't use it more. And I just said, this would be a great place for that. I don't know, we must have been talking about it, right? So he just got it kind of go, and you remember the wah wah goes,
Oh, yeah.
It comes with, hey, and then Marlboro Man. I'm giving you all my secrets.
I love it. It's great. Well, and then when you say the let it go, come on, baby, let's go. Was that something that just came out of you in the studio at that moment?
Absolutely. You close your eyes and you're just going for it. And that's where a lot of the stuff comes from. A lot of lyrics come from that way too. I remember when we were writing songs and we were singing in the microphone, I'd be going like, "Samthor said a bit of tackle, hey." He goes, "Did you just say something take a bit of hacker, hey?" And I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "That's cool." I says, "It's nothing. I just was sensed, singing along." And I think a lot of songs are written like that. Then you fill them in with real words.
That's what's great about music is everything influences everything to a point. And that's why unless somebody blatantly rips something off, to me, everybody borrows from everybody. I remember a few years later when I was watching the movie The Secret of My Success, Michael J. Fox movie, and the main song from that Secret of My Success was a Night Ranger song. And I'm telling you right now that Working for the Weekend was a blueprint for that. That definitely was somehow influenced that song, The Secret of My Success. It's got that same energy. The secret of my success. But again, not a ripoff, almost like paying homage to what you were doing.
Do you want to hear a story that not a lot of people know? And I think even they would talk about this. We were headlining in America, all around North America, 3 years in a row. And every year we wanted Huey Lewis to come with us because we loved the guys and we loved their music. But I remember the end of the last tour, I went in to say goodbye to the guys in the dressing room, and Huey's got his hands in his head. And I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "Mike, we rock the crowd every night. We can't sell a bloody record, to save our lives. We just don't sell anything." And I just remember saying, "Well, dude, don't do anything different. Just keep what you're doing, and just keep doing it." And I think the next thing they put out was Sports. And I think it sold like 20 million records, right? It's something that's never been done before. And huge, great music. I mean, it's hard to, man, can you imagine how many hits these guys have had? Fantastic group of guys, too. Still guys, yeah.
Yeah, Huey, I've interviewed him, and Sports and Four. I mean, those were albums of my youth for sure, and it was great to be able to get those songs. But yeah, I mean, it's all these songs influence one another. And what I loved about Working for the Weekend was the music video. I love the banter before. You guys always had such cool music videos because it was so natural. It wasn't like you were filming a band and, okay, there's a glamour shot here and it was fake. It was real. It was really who you guys were. You got to feel, as a kid, I was like, man, I want to hang out with these guys. They're the real deal. And that's what I love about that beginning. You're talking about each band member, you're going back and forth bantering about the Get Lucky and all that.
I just felt like saying Get Lucky just before Dean went into his guitar break. That's where it all started. That's
great. That really is something. I never even thought about it. I used to feel like it was a bit, what's the word? Whenever they used to ask us to do stuff, I said, no matter what you guys say, I'm going to try to act natural. So a lot of times I didn't think I was acting natural, but if you did,
yeah,
there you go.
Sure. Well, 6 Juno Awards that year as well. That's a record that still stands.
It is. And I think we even got one more for production. So we can kind of group that in as 7. So nobody's even come, I think Nickelback came close. They got 5 one year.
Yeah. But that's still a record.
That is crazy, incredible. Huh?
Very.
Do you know what happened that year? Do you know who Burton Cummings is, right?
Oh, yeah. Interviewed him.
Everybody knows Burton Cummings from the Guess Who, American Woman.
Oh, yeah.
So he was hosting the Juno Awards, which is for all the American listeners and worldwide listeners. Juno Awards would be Canadians' Grammys.
Yep.
So the awards ceremonies come along, and we'd already won like 3 in a row to the point where the directors were going, just stay in the back here. Don't go back to your seats. And we didn't know what he was talking about. And Burton Cummings goes to do his little piece, and he goes, We'll be right back with the Loverboy Awards right after these words from our sponsors.
I didn't know that. Wow. That's a compliment.
That was a trip. He's a great guy. You want to talk to a guy who knows about music? Wow, does this guy ever have some music knowledge? You should try to sing with him. Yeah, he's good.
Burton's awesome. Well, thing about working for the weekends, we talked about pop culture phenomenon. I mean, that thing is everywhere. And it really kind of all started with that skit from Saturday Night Live, Chippendales. What did you think about that? And did NBC ever give you a heads up that was happening? And what do you remember about that?
Well, to be honest with you, I was doing, we're playing a show on the weekend. And I think we'd finished the show and got back to the hotel room around 11 o'clock, So I was packing a bag. I like to pack before I hit the sack. I don't like to pack in the morning. I'm too drowsy. So I'm packing, having a beer or something, just watching. I loved Saturday Night Live. We'd been on it before. And I'd always watched it. I thought it was a great show. And all of a sudden, I hear the cowbell, and I see these two, the big heavy set guy who shouldn't even be at Chippendale, and then the guy who's amazing, just looking at each other, and they start dance off, right? And I almost peed my pants. I mean, to be honest, nobody told me it was coming on. I just couldn't believe it. It flabbergasted me, and to this day, it just really, every time I hear it, I just go, wow, that's great, really great.
Well, Chris Farley, especially, passed away, many years ago, and a great comedian. And that was one of the highlights of his Saturday Night Live career, that. And then Patrick Swayze, and it kept going. I mean, later on, a few years later, Family Guy does a take on it. Because it was such a big thing. And working for the weekend, I mean, video games, been in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Rock Band, Saints Row 2, and then in film, Zoolander. What did you think about that? Did you ever see that?
That was super funny. I loved a lot of the stuff they did with the music, What was the one, too, where the girls were, the three girls with Charlie? He was Angels?
Charlie's Angels, yeah. Oh, yeah, Charlie's Angels.
I think they used Working for the Weekend in that one, too.
They did, yeah. And Adam Sandler's a big fan because he's used it in several of his movies. He used it in Click, where Terry Crews is in traffic and he's singing it. That's great.
Right.
And then Pixels.
Actually, he uses a lot of Loverboy stuff. He told me, personally, that one night when we were doing something, I think a Christmas party or something for him and his company, he was saying, he gets on the microphone, and I was going to sing Turn Me Loose, and he says, I'm going to play along with you, Mike. This is the first song I ever learned on guitar, right? So he's playing it, and Waddy Waddell is playing it on the other side, and he's number one guitar player going. And after we played it, I went, you better keep practicing, Adam. And he just went, shut up, Reno. And he was doing a Saturday Night Live skit with me, right? And then it was time to play Working for the Weekend at this party. He had 2,500 of his best workers there and friends. So just as a joke, I went, does anybody have a cowbell? I look out to the audience, and everybody's looking. We don't have it. And from behind the whole stage comes Tony Orlando playing dunk, 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 and then the band starts it up, and he just pounding on that thing like you wouldn't believe. I couldn't believe it. I was living in this dream world,
Oh yeah.
There's Tony Orlando, Eddie Money's out there, Sammy Hagar's out. Everybody was there to help, put on a show for him. It's really a fun
wow.
movie.
Well, on 30 Rock too, the character on there, I think it was Pete Hamburger was the guy, and
I was in Loverboy, but then I had to choose between staying in the band or taking that college scholarship.
He said that he was in the band for 3 months, and they digitally inserted him into the video.
He told everybody he was the bass player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Regular Show, that's how my kids found it. That's a cartoon. And then on Scrubs, the Todd imitates the video for a performance.
Well,
Radio Shack, that Super Bowl ad. I mean, it's been everywhere.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good run. I mean, we're pretty lucky that way. People seem to have used it all for the right things. You know, we've been pretty lucky as a group of guys, you know, as a bunch of guys. To be able to still do this after all these years is pretty fortunate, for sure. I'm a little saddened about what's happening right now because all the shows got canceled this year.
I know.
You know, I guess everybody's just playing it safe, and I don't blame them. It's crazy times.
Well, we'll have to bring the fans some of these stories behind these songs. It helps them appreciate it more when they hear it the next time as they pick out the different parts. But the thing about working for The Weeknd, too, is it's had a lot of covers. It was in Herbie Fully Loaded. I think it was a Josh Grayson that sang it, the American Idol winner. And Will Ferrell did it on Conan.
God, Ron Burgundy. Isn't that awesome? I mean, those are some of my favorite characters, right? Who doesn't love Ron Burgundy? He's just so full of himself, right?
But everybody's working for the weekend.
No kidding. Did you ever hear that Paul Gilbert, that guitarist, he did an instrumental of it?
I don't think I did.
It's really cool.
Awesome.
He does an instrumental of it. I'll have to send it out to you or something, because it's really a really cool thing.
I wrote it about one thing and everybody else took it for whatever they wanted, which is kind of cool. You know what I mean?
That's what's great about music, yeah, because once you release it, it becomes everybody else's. They have their own experiences with it that they take to the grave, really.
Right, yeah. And that's I think what makes a real good song.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you'd like to see the entire hour-plus interview with Mike Reno, click on the link below to be the first to see our premium content when it's released. Leave us a comment on this amazing song and Loverboy below. If you like our content, subscribe. Also, you can hear the album below in our curated playlist. We've also provided a purchase link to get Loverboy's music on Amazon. Stay tuned for more episodes of Artist Revelations. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.